Black women, girls, and gender-expansive people lead uniquely meaningful lives. But we experience racism, sexism, and capitalism in ways that are specific to our identities and to our place in the world.
These systems impact our lives in so many ways.
Our health, our access to quality resources and support.
Our safety in our homes.
Our kids' ability to have quality education.
Our ability to write and see our narratives reflected in the media.
Our protection from patriarchal violence. Our ability to lean on protections of the law. And our access to institutional power.
Black Feminist Future is boldly challenging the systems that seek to deny us our humanity by working to radically improve the lives of Black women, girls, and gender-expansive people all over the U.S.
See, she's telepathic, call it black girl magic. Yeah, she scares the government, deja vu a tough man.
We won't sit by while we see our existence being denied.
It's giving liberation.
The Black Feminist Agenda will allow us to outline the issues that Black feminists, that means you, have deemed as important. And we will work closely with members and allies all over the country to create unique pathways to shift the material conditions for us.
Black feminists have always had the answers. This is where you come in.
Do you have big opinions on bodily autonomy?
Are you really into economic justice and defeating the impacts of capitalism?
Do you want to shift the culture of misogyny?
Are you passionate about climate and land justice?
Are you concerned with ensuring holistic care for our communities?
Do you want to help create a fully liberated society where we can live in safety, free from police violence, intimate partner violence, institutional violence, and the prison industrial complex?
It's giving access to power.
At Get Free, you will have 2 opportunities to squad up for the Black Feminist Agenda. Take the survey by scanning QR codes throughout the convening.
And on Saturday, we invite you to join us for our first ever Black Feminist Caucus at 2:45 p.m., where we will caucus the BFF way to develop policy, shift the culture, and provide advocacy recommendations to advance the Black Feminist Agenda.
It's giving living in our fullness. This is your chance to speak up, make your voice heard, and be a part of history.
It's giving, let's put an end to patriarchy.
It's giving, let's take control of our futures.
It's giving, now is our time.
It's giving a Black Feminist Agenda.
Now y'all be sure and take that survey and talk to y'all people about which room they vote in. We'll see y'all Saturday. Cut! Good job, y'all. That was good. Hand me my phone so I can take this survey.
Oh, absolutely. Let's give a warm Get Free welcome to M. Adams. M. Adams is a Black Feminist Future board member and serves as the executive of infrastructure at the Movement for Black Lives.
Does she have a mic?
This conversation, The Future is Black and Trans, is sponsored by the Planned Parenthood Federation of America.
Can y'all hear me? That's what's up. I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited to be here. And let me say this, we are a good-looking conference, y'all. We are a good-looking conference. I've been to a lot of them, and they don't look this good. We are a good-looking conference. So let's get into it. So first of all, I want to say I'm M. Adams. I use all pronouns. I'm with M4BL, the Movement for Black Lives. I've been there a long time. I'm fortunate to be in a staff role now where I focus on infrastructure. We'll dig into that a little bit when we're in conversation. Good. But I want to give shout out to Philadelphia Printworks. Shout out. I know a lot of us have worked with them and have gotten a lot of great t-shirts from them, but guess what? They did a collab with Black Feminist Futures and their shirts here for sale. So make sure you grab one. I think they're gonna post it up here. Okay, we might post it up in a little bit. But let's get to it. I want to introduce who's here to Keynote with us. Angelica Ross. So from the boardroom to Broadway, Hollywood to Capitol Hill, Angelica Ross is a leading figure of success and strength in the movement for human rights advocacy focused on transgender and racial equity. A fan favorite of FX's award-winning hit pose, plus both the 9th and 10th seasons of Ryan Murphy's FX hit American Horror Story. June 3rd, 2022, Angelica released her debut music video and single, Only You. Ms. Ross recently announced her forthcoming untitled book, and she continues to blaze new trails, kick open doors, and build her own table with ample open seats. Y'all give it up. Oh yeah, welcome to the stage, Angelica Ross.
International, you crazy for this one. Want this love, but I don't think you're ready, baby. Just enough to make it do some crazy things. Ooh, just might blind you, baby. Salt, everything tastes better off my lips. Plus, this purse is very expensive. Yes, it costs. Boy, go on, but don't get lost.
Yeah, y'all better download that song.
Said who better than who?
Okay, listen, hey, everybody. Okay, turn it down. Turn it down. Hi, everyone. So listen, I just want to give one little caveat and little thing before we get started. Okay, because I know everybody has their cell phones and things like that, you know, and I'm going to be up here saying important things. Sometimes you're going to be recording it. Sometimes you're going to be looking at your phone. And the thing is that if you're looking at, what I want you to do, just go to wherever you play and download and stream music. I want you to look up P-U-R-R, and I want you to go ahead and download, buy, stream, whatever you do, add it to a playlist, do all that. So therefore, when we're in conversation, if you're looking at your phone, I'm just assuming that you're downloading the song. Yay! Hi, everybody!
Right on. So Angelica and I are going to be in conversation for a little bit, and then there's a portion where you all get to ask questions. And how that's going to happen is there's a table in the back with postcards. So during our conversation, put your questions on those postcards, and then there's a team that's going to get those questions up to us. Cool? Y'all ready?
I got to lean into this light, though. Where my light at? I'm trying to give y'all so y'all can see on the screen. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody heard me.
So, Angelica, I think I speak for everybody when I say we are so excited that you are here.
I'm excited to be here.
So excited that you are here. Many of us are fangirls of you, of your work. You've just done so much important work, and what I love most about you is you use your talents in service of movement. And that is so important. You've been a trailblazer in many ways, the first openly trans woman on Broadway. What?
Come on. I mean, well, not on Broadway, because, you know, we had Peppermint and we had some other folks, but the first one to lead.
To lead, come on now.
You understand what I'm saying? That main character energy. Yes.
Yes. So can you tell us as a creative the importance you think that art plays in movement and creating social change?
Well, I think that art is everything. I think that we are all kind of just uniquely and intrinsically artists. It's just that the world tries to trick you out of your creative energy and space. And so what I learned, the reason why it's so important for me, I learned over time. I was in this relationship with my ex-fiance, and I just remember us getting into an argument, and about a few minutes later, I start singing, and he's like, "What the hell are you singing for? We just got in this big argument." But when I feel any extreme emotions, whether it's extreme joy or extreme pain, it comes out in a creative way. And I think we shouldn't push that away or just ignore that as just, oh, something else. I think it's a divine calling to sort of transmute the things that we feel and experience into creative art. Because I think that art is one of those things that is, and I'm gonna probably use the right word, but I know y'all going wrong word, but y'all can correct me. Is it subjective or objective? Which one am I looking for? Thank y'all. So you know, art is subjective. And it makes people feel something, it makes people learn, it makes people think, but it's also undeniable when there's a synergy of authenticity that's coming from the creator. So I think it's a part of everything that we do, and we should never stop creating.
That's right. That's right. And creation is such an important part of Black feminist traditions, y'all, right? That we make something out of nothing. We create freedom dreams in face of extreme oppression. So can you talk to us a little bit about your journey in being a Black feminist? How'd you get here?
Woo. I'm not exactly sure how I got here. Time just moves on. But there's these things that just happen that sort of wake you up. And I think that the feminist in me has just been constantly waking up. And even sometimes to the degree where I didn't even know yet, because a seed was planted and it was like, oh, we're gonna get back to that later. Case in point, when I was growing up, this pre-transition, being young, coming up, there was a story that came out about Mike Tyson, I believe it was, and a woman that went to his hotel room or something like that, and there was like a sexual assault sort of situation. And I just remember growing up and remember my father saying, like, well, she went to his hotel room at 2 a.m., and just all of these things around, I started to hear his mindset around things. And even when I transitioned, he might kill me for this because I've never said this, but like, even when I transitioned, I think he kind of warned me and saying like, well, okay, well, if you're going to be dealing with men like that, like, you're going to have to be able to answer to their biology, let's just, like if they want this, they want that, like, he just kind of started to prepare me for that method. But also like growing up and watching my mom in her marriage and things like that. And again, pre-transition. So I'm witnessing a lot of this, and it just doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't sit right. And as my brothers are being groomed and indoctrinated on how to treat women and what have you, it's just not hitting. It's not landing with me. And so I think I have some very radical-ish views. I'm a Buddhist, so I practice Buddhism, Nichiren Buddhism. And, we believe that there's the cycle of life and death, right? And we believe that some Buddhists choose to get back on that cycle, not to reach enlightenment so that they can get off, but that they keep getting back on so that they can come in another incarnation to show yet another path to a good life, to enlightenment, to whatever that is. Whether that is a disability, whether that is you're trans, whether that's you're immigrant, what have you, and people being able to have that spirit that overcomes everything. That's what that essence is about. But I think about Eckhart Tolle talking about male and female energy, and since the beginning of time, how feminine energy has been oppressed. And how male energy has been just allowed to run rampant, create wars, do all kind of things. I kind of think that trans people, feminine folks, we are a natural response to the oppression. Because the thing is that male and female energy exists in us all. So there's almost like a fool's errand where they think that they can oppress feminine energy. Because when you push it down here, like whack-a-mole, it's going to pop up over here and where you least expect it. So we're in a world right now that wants to oppress and harm femininity wherever it pops up. That is why we as women, I didn't even have to put a prefix, because I know everybody in here understands. That's why as women, we have to come together. We have to support each other, because we are the ones who are going to free each other and the rest of our community. I know I went through the answer, around, up and down to the back, but I know y'all got something out of that.
No, but it was good. It was good. I want us to go a little deeper here, right? So you're talking to a group of black folks, a group of black feminists, right? Talking to a group of black folks, and we're here at this panel, right? The future is black and trans. It's such a critical discussion, especially right now, right? We got these fools all across these different states with anti-trans legislation. We got trans folks in our communities not safe in their homes, not safe with their parents, not safe with loved ones, right? And so I want you to extend or go deeper into your comments, because I've always asserted as a radical black queer feminist that trans liberation is for all black people. It don't matter what you identify as, right? That advancing trans liberation, advancing trans politics frees all of us, right? It invites all of us into our best and fuller selves. And so can you talk about what the future being black and trans means?
Whew, let me tell you. So this is such a beautiful, beautiful vision for me. Where's Samantha Masters? Where you at? Samantha, you in here? I know you in here. Samantha's somewhere in there. But Samantha Masters, I have worked with before the fame and glitz and glam and all the things, and we've been at conferences with HRC and creating change and things like that or whatever. And when we go to their conferences, you know, we're there, right? And what folks don't understand about these conferences, creating change, the National LGBTQ Task Force, they've been around for so long. They were actually a part of my first sort of social justice education. But to be able to access that, I remember they were giving out like scholarships for me to like attend the programming for free or to get there to do certain things. So there was a barrier to learning these tools. And a few of us have been at these places to be able to access them and learn them. What I have been seeing is black, queer, and trans people have been shaking things up for us all, because what I started to realize is there are black women who want to be free of the patriarchy, of all of the system, but don't have the tools, haven't had access to the tools for accountability, because right now accountability sounds like the worst thing in America to some people, but all black women have been asking for so long is accountability. And so what we're seeing is black, queer, and trans people, we learned and went into the task force in HRC, we learned these accountability tools. Then we went into their buildings and flipped tables. Like, they thought they gave us the tools, and then we were like, okay, now let's call out your anti-blackness in these organizations. And we went through and stormed all of the organizations. I say this to say and make context for. How many of you remember when the baby was in trouble online? I mean, when is he not? But there was a moment, and I know the sis, listen, I know that I got them hot. I got you hot, I know it. We're about to go there. So here's the situation. The baby gets up on stage, and he's saying all this inflammatory stuff. Ladies, if your coochie smell like water, and you did blah, 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 you know, this thing. And then, the fellas, if you're not in the parking lot, sucking, you know, and you ain't got HIV, all this whole thing that he's saying, right? Now, mind you, black, queer, gay, trans people, we're black. We've grown up in the same streets, communities, hoods, and all the things. So we do listen to the same music. We do twerk and dance to the same things, even though they calling us one. But one day, black, queer, and trans people said, no. Actually, no. No. Stop this. This is not happening anymore. We're not doing this anymore. We're not supporting you, shutting this down. You need to go get educated, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, it only went far because not only did the black, queer, and trans people stand up, but what the baby said hit an intersection. So it called in other people from the intersection that wanted to pipe up white people, you too, they wanted to pipe up on the situation, and it also got things moving. But then there were some black cis women, because I know it ain't the ones in here. But I know it was some that was just like, well, y'all, everything just gay. Y'all just moved because of gay people. Y'all wasn't saying nothing when they was talking about women and this and blah, blah, blah. I was like, sweet sis, we've always been saying something. We're waiting on you too, to join us. Because the thing is, we can't trust every cis woman to be an ally, even though we want to. So when we can know that we are standing lock arm, baby, there ain't shit we can't do. So in that situation, that helped me to realize, oh, it is black, queer, and trans people that are going to take us across this freedom line, because some people are still participating in patriarchy because it benefits them. The pick-me's. Woo! Let me sit down. I'm not preaching. It's a Q&A. But yeah, so that is why there's so many tools now that I learned from the white people, sure. But I took them and made them work for me and my community. And that's what we need to do, is always, when we get into these spaces that have resources and tools and things like that, let me tell you something. Ain't a man alive that can sit up here and tell me that he's going to lead and can't. Listen, I was dating this man, and he was driving my Audi. I had him driving my Audi. I was dating this man. Now listen, we ain't always, I'm trying to, he ain't got to make the money I make, blah, blah, blah. So he's driving the car and we're going down, in the LA or whatever. I have an Audi, a new one. So it's got a big screen on it with GPS navigation. And yet we are missing exit after exit. You over here in this lane, and we supposed to be over here to be able to exit. And I said to him, pause. I said, listen, there's no way that I'm going to hand any man the wheel that does not have a better sense of direction than I do. I need to know that I can hand you the wheel. And this was a metaphorical situation. But I say this to say, one way that women have always actually moved forward is by letting men believe that they are the head when we are the neck. Turning the head left and right. But here's the situation. We have got to come together to raise our communities, to raise our children. And we have got to create systems that protect, educate, heal, in spite of the patriarchal fumbling. Because you have so many people who are, from a patriarchal point of view, that think that they're supposed to lead, that they're kings. But as y'all have heard me say on certain clips, but you can't serve the whole kingdom. You can't protect the trans kids and the queer folks and the you only want to protect the women you want to fuck. Can I say that?
Yes, you can. Absolutely, you can.
Oh, I know I was speaking to the right audience today. Go ahead, let's keep moving.
No, let's keep going in this direction. So what I hear and what you're saying is there's a need for serious black queer feminist, black trans feminist leadership. right?
Yes.
Is that we can't keep defaulting to the same old Umar Johnson, whoever, whatever. You know, since we talking.
Well, think about it this way. Think about it this way. Our girl, Harriet Tubman,
Come on.
had to leave some people behind.
Yes.
And all I'm saying is, what I've learned as a Buddhist, and I have a podcast that's going to be coming out very soon. I'm going to be returning back into the space. I've been taking a break. But the podcast is called Now, No Opportunity Wasted with Angelica Ross. And what my Buddhist practice has taught me is that no opportunity is wasted, because what you end up doing is, in each and every single opportunity, you're doing two things. You're assessing your capacity, how much energy, positive, negative, do I have a lot of capacity, am I ready, am I tired, whatever. Your capacity and the capacity of the environment that you're in or the people that you are engaging with. I say this to say, we know that there's a lot of people who they ain't even close to understanding what we're talking about. Don't give up on them. They might not be a lost cause. Drop a seed. Just find the right seed to drop. You don't need to change them. Please do not waste your time and energy trying to change them. We can't really, the key to working with the people we're going to be working with to create the freedom and liberation is willingness. But willful ignorance is not allowed. Also, accountability. I've said this before. I always say, I learned this actually from, his name is, it's a book called Community by Robert Block, I think is his name. But he talks about community, and in this book is where I learned that the admission price for community is accountability. So, Black community, we have learned that that's kind of not really necessarily a thing. Which Black community are you talking about? So, we have to start holding boundaries, requirements, standards to do some quality control in our communities. Because and I get so passionate about this, because if the least that I'm asking from you is accountability, so folks, that's like one of your central things to assess in your relationships, partnerships, business. Is there accountability? And if there's not, you need to head the other direction. It's going to be a losing battle. Accountability is the least. But with accountability, that can be the key to unlock so many things, because let me tell you something, this Me Too movement, Black women know, we haven't even really seen it hit us yet. Our gospel plays blame us and warn us about going out into the world and chasing your dreams, because you'll get wrapped up in, listen, what we need to do is we need to set the standard. We need to change things where Black women are leading the family structures, business structures, and if there's not yes, applaud for that, please. We need to be leading, and we also then need to hold accountability for each other.
Hold on, let's get into that.
Because even as a Black trans woman sitting here, there is accountability that I haven't had to have with other Black trans women. So across all of the intersections, we need to be accountable to one another. We need to understand, because when you don't hold the line, I guarantee you someone's waiting. Because this is the new day of social media. So someone's waiting to use you as an example. See, she's a Black woman and she agrees with me. So just know this is where I stand and this is where my model is, and I'm going to give it to you too. I very much accept the responsibility of being a leader in black women spaces, in black trans spaces, in black community spaces. But I take that responsibility because I know that what I'm offering with that is accountability. I'm saying I'm going to go hard. I'm actually going to be very convicted in what I say. So if there is something I say that is off, that needs correction, I'm in community with black feminists who have every right. I'm telling you this now, but you know you already have that right. To hold me accountable, because you can't be a leader and not be accountable to the people that you're claiming to lead. So let's hold each other accountable and not take it personal. And if we need to grab another sister in order for somebody to get the point, let's do that too. And also, let's also come together when we see certain things like Francesca Ramsey. How many of y'all know who Francesca Ramsey is? Brilliant. Since MTV Decoded. But Twitter has turned into a different environment, and we know this. That's why I don't really move the same way on Twitter. So she sometimes gets this brunt of white supremacists, of just energy that is combating the work that she does. So I'm just going to encourage us to, when we see black women being jumped on, basically, in online spaces, that we come together to do something, to say something. And when black women are in public spaces being problematic, that we find a way without doing what others do to completely, you know what I mean, like make us feel less than and what have you, but with love. Wrap our arms around that sister and say, girl, that ain't it.
Hey.
No, they soaking it in. I know it. I can feel it. I can feel it.
Me too. I'm soaking it in too. I just want to highlight a couple really important things you said and build on them. So the first part, one of the parts rather, is this clarity about, in order to be a leader, you have to take seriously the responsibility of being accountable.
Responsibility.
You can't be a leader if you ain't accountable.
Wait. But responsibility, the definition, the ability to respond. The ability to have a response. There are so many people who are saying they are responsibility leaders, but don't have a response. Or a good one. So that is the thing, is that each of us are going to increase our ability to respond to the challenges in our personal life, to the challenges of our communities and in our families. Ladies and non-binary folks and everybody, let's respond.
Let's respond, right? So we have some key things identified about what it means to be a leader, right? We have to be responsible, we have to be accountable, and we have to be in community. And I'm emphasizing that because we're in a time period where people have a lot of visibility, but ain't leaders, y'all.
Because they ain't in community. They don't have community.
They ain't in community, they ain't accountable, and they ain't responsible, right? And so we talking about serious leadership, right? You and all of us in this room have the charge of being serious leaders to get us to this black trans future, right? So I think that's such an incredible point. The other thing that you said, and I actually want to agitate you a little bit on it so you can share more. I think it's important what you said about people having to opt in and be willful, right? So Mary Hooks in the mandate talks about us being transformed. We have to be
Mary Hooks?
Yes.
Y'all don't know. I grew up with Mary Hooks.
That's right.
Like for real, like in school. I love her down.
So we have to be willing, right? So that calls us too. And, you know, I think about, you know, part of the Black feminist tradition is, right, as we learn from those before us. So I think about Maya Angelou, who says in her book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, that her grandmother taught her to be, I'm paraphrasing here, to be tolerant of people who are ignorant, right? So if people have not received the education, the opportunity, and that's important, right? Because I remember my journey. I didn't always know what I know, right? And so we as leaders have to be willing to work inside of communities and help folks get to where they go, but they must be willing.
Wait, okay,
right?
so yeah, so there's something that we learned in these racial justice institutes and things like that, and one of the things was we talked about racism and broke that down. It was a whole little thing. Well, the one of the juiciest parts of it was when we were talking about internalized anti-blackness and internalized racism. And I speak to that because I have used myself, and I did it once on Oprah's Black Women Who Own the Conversation, and I was in a room with 100 black women, and I discussed my time of being in an interracial relationship and talked about, like, the only time I'm like cool with it is when you're able to be your full self in those spaces and not have to avoid conversations and different things in order to keep the peace. But the thing is that I'm sitting here 42 years old. Thank you. Thank you. When I was 21, I met this man and I was engaged, and we were together for about 8 years. When I broke off the engagement, it was as if someone had removed something from my eyes. And I started to see in which ways I had internalized anti-blackness and my dating choices. And I see this a lot with black queer boys dating white men. No, listen. Because it's all good. It's all good when you're able to talk about when you're able to know why you're making the choices you're making and all the things. But folks are walking around unhealed and don't know it because we weren't given the tools. We weren't told these certain things. So when our black families pushed us out, not only of the house, but of community. They pushed us into a white LGBT community and have no idea what our experience is, but want to sit here and accuse us of pandering to white queer people for any kind of sense of success or whatever. When we are just trying to survive in this space, I want you to watch a documentary, Surviving Ed Buck, because it breaks down the fact that of how we as black queer people even end up in the situations in the first place. Pushed into these white communities where they do different things that we don't do. They have different privileges and coping mechanisms. So when we're doing sex work because we are pushed out the house and need to eat and do whatever, but they got jobs as gay boys and do this and whatever, they're paying the sex workers to not just have sex, but to do drugs with them. And they don't have the same coping mechanisms or whatever to dust themselves off. We need to heal. For real, for real. Like Beyonce said it at one point, right? We gonna heal. But y'all, we need to see that as something that, like a calling. Black women, femmes, non-binary folks, femme gay boys. We have been through some real focused oppression. I said we, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, wherever femininity pops up, they want to oppress it. So just know that we can't just be black girl magic and doing all these things and putting a pretty face on a spirit that needs to heal. You understand what I'm saying? So take any of these engagements at different intersections and witness when something rubs you the wrong way or something, whatever, you might need a little bit of healing. You know what I'm saying? Or if you witness it in someone else, let's love each other enough to understand. Like I'm saying, I was in a space where my mind was switched on another gear, so I didn't even see it. You could tell me too. I was blue in the face. That girl, you doing this, you doing that. No, I'm not. I'm just, that's what I like, and blah blah blah. But I was making choices out of safety. There were so many things that were influencing my decisions, but I made a radical decision. I said, no matter what the stats look like, no matter what, I will not fear black men. I will not. I will love them radically. And even if that radical means creating a bit of distance, but still loving them radically, because we want to get to freedom, but I don't think we're getting there without everybody. You understand? I mean, some people, you know what I mean? But I'm talking about a good amount of the folks. We're not going to be able to continue to build a beautiful black community without black men. We're just not, you know what I mean? I mean, we can get their sperm and do a few things and whatever, but you know. Okay, let's keep going, guys.
Yeah. I want us to, there's a lot there. I'm like, oh, we could talk about all the things. So one of the things
podcast, I'm telling you, we're going to go into it. Yes.
Yes. So one of the things I want, I'm hoping you can talk to us a little bit about is the work that you've done with black trans women, black cis women, right? So really building on the ideas you shared about what it means to be a leader, to be accountable, to be responsive, to be in community. This is a group full of black feminist folks who are in communities trying to figure out how we advance and build black trans power amongst a gender-full black community. So can you talk about that work, some lessons,
Big time. So trans tech is trans tech. When I created trans tech, I had this hidden thing in the back of my brain, you know, and I told a few people about it, but it was trans tech, trans people. But really, my vision for trans tech is technology at the intersection of transition. And what that looks like is allowing technology to be that catalyst for the person who is fresh out of incarceration, that is now entering a high technology world and don't know where to start. Or to that woman who put all her chips into the patriarchy and built a whole man's life and kids and everything else, and now is, for whatever reason, is finding herself in a state where she needs to create her own things and needs to understand she has a ton of transferable skills that she's built over that time. So for me, this is all about black women, trans, cis, non-binary, coming together and understanding that we're all valuable, first and foremost, and that we share the resources. So within trans tech, I know one girl off the top of my head who identifies as a non-binary black woman, and she has received our scholarships and boot camp scholarships and gone on to work with Power to Fly and other coding things and is doing amazing things, but she always comes back to the community. She's learning skills and getting her law degree and coming back to the community. So what an amazing thing to see, not just trans people coming back to trans people. This is what we got. This is the blueprint. This is how you can get here. But we've got more of us now coming back with blueprints and resources. That's what that looks like. That's what trans tech looks like. And that's what many other black organizations, including this one, looks like, because they continue to wrap people like me in, which I was so happy to see.
Mm-hmm. So we got a couple questions from the audience. Excellent questions. I don't think we can do them all.
I know we can, because I know.
But I'm going to ask you two of them. They're different, but maybe you could address both in our next few minutes. So one of the questions is, can you say more about accountability when we are the ones who have caused the harm and when we want to return a community? Which I think is such an important question.
Yes, this is a really good question. Okay, go
And
ahead.
the second one I want to ask you is, can you offer suggestions on leading without falling into exhaustion?
Okay, so the first one is, how do we handle accountability when you're the one? And so here's the thing. I wish I would have said this earlier before this question, but it's great. What I talk about a lot is that every single person has to get in the habit of indicting themselves. Cis women, I'm sorry, but you cannot be fully trusted to be an ally to queer and trans people because of the way that you have been conditioned. I cannot be trusted to not be ableist, to not be xenophobic, because to not be transphobic, because I was brought up that way. So we have to start indicting ourselves before the court and the jury even assembles. That's why with the Me Too movement, with your, I just feel like it's so sad a state of things that we can't even address things like Kobe Bryant. And the situation is, the narrative is so confused for men on what went down that they're just going with it never happened. And that's because he did not do due diligence to make right, to indict himself, and to say, I was brought up, given dap, how many girlfriends you got, this and that, to behave and treat women a certain way. And it wasn't until this world that we're in now that I learned that was messed up. And I want to apologize, and I want to invest some time and money when they got it, and money into organizations who are dealing with the very thing that I was having trouble with. So the situation is that we have to all practice indicting ourselves. That's it. Because let me tell you, a certain thing happened on the internet with Samson McCormick, a gay black comedian who was being transphobic, and then pointed to T.S. Madison's video to be like, see, she's saying the same thing. She's saying the same thing. She agreed with me. And if you don't we just have to be able to say, I messed up, I didn't know any better, and I'm willing to do something different about it. But to stand 10 toes down on some things and on some incorrect things, it's a problem. All I can say is that it's a problem, and we have to continue to hold people accountable even if they won't hold themselves accountable. But I think we can offer people a space to say, hey, listen, before we get into the full thing, if you want to have a moment here and indict yourself, then we can have a different kind of conversation. But if you want to gaslight us And if you want to act like we don't know what we're talking about, then we're going to have to move differently. And the second part was...
Second question, and really quick before you pivot to the second question, offering is, maybe we think about it as holding ourselves accountable and not indictment, because we're people that are not invested in that prison system, right? And so we understand
Absolutely.
that language is, right?
So that's what I'm talking about. In real time.
And the second question is basically, how don't you burn out? How do you lead without becoming exhausted or, yeah.
And the one thing I was that I forgot to say, that I was saying that I lost track of, is just the simple fact that someone said that I can't be transphobic. That's ridiculous. And I had to explain to them and a personal call with T.S. Madison. And I talked about how I'm transphobic. I put myself on the table. Do you know how many years I looked in the mirror and said transphobic shit to myself? Not loving myself? You look hard, bitch. Look at your stomach. Your voice is deep, girl. All the things. So then when T.S. Masters on the video talking about Bob the Builder and this and that, you're just illustrating how we as trans people can be transphobic. That we should not have to perform femininity for nobody. So that's what it looks like to call yourself in. What was the word you used before, too?
To be accountable.
To be accountable, yes. To just be accountable. So I'm gonna get that word out of my indict. I'm gonna get that word out of my system. Thank you, sister. Thank you so much. And then how not to burn out? Listen, you gotta understand that Beyonce, Beyonce. Thank you for my talk. Yes. No. Beyonce just went to Dubai and slayed. Got paid a ton of money and ain't said nothing about their problematic natures, right? That's because Beyonce ain't stupid. Beyonce knows, as big as a star as she is, they will still tell you to shut up and sing. They will still sit you front row at the gig and gag you, knowing that you deserve all the things. To know that is to know that you are in a playing field that's really stacked against your own personal energy. And here's the situation. I'm Angelica Ross, and I think that I can move mountains and do a lot of things, and I have and I can. But sometimes it gets confusing to me because I feel like I can do more than what I need to be real about. And understand I'm one person. And when you are in community, you can know. You can kick your feet up. I know my sister got my back. I know Amara Jones got my back. I know Raquel Willis got my back. I know Francesca got my back. I know Brittany Packner Cunningham got my back. So when you know you're in community with some amazing, beautiful black feminists, baby, as a leader, kick your feet up. Relax. Take all the time you need and jump back in when you're ready.
Angelica Ross, y'all. I know we can get louder for her.
Thank you so much.
Come on. Give her flowers.
Download Purr on all platforms and get your life. Yes. Woo!
All right, do we just walk off? Is it a question? What's going on?
We did the questions.
Oh,
They
yeah,
told
okay.
me it's our
Thank you,
time.
everybody.
Stay engaged while at Get Free and check out the breakout sessions in the apps. Connect with BFF on Instagram, follow us at Black Feminist Future, and use Get Free 2023 hashtag to share your moments with us. Join us here after your breakout sessions at 4:30 for Hope is a Verb and to wrap up this beautiful Friday.